Hello everyone and welcome to Big Rock Moto. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I have two sincere favors to ask of you. One is that if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. And two, bookmark my link tree and use my affiliate links whenever you're shopping for motorcycle parts and gear. I really appreciate those two favors. Helps keep this channel moving forward. All right, this is the Husqvarna Norden 901 Expedition. Now, I've reviewed this bike's cousins, the KTM 890 Adventure, 890 Adventure R, and also the standard Husqvarna Norden 901 here on the channel. So how is this Expedition model different? So what Husqvarna did with the Norden 901 Expedition is they took the regular Norden, but they gave it the upscale, up-spec, more off-road oriented, more adjustable WP Explore suspension, which is very similar to what you find on KTM's 890 Adventure R. What Husqvarna also did is they loaded the bike up with features that make it more touring, more travel oriented. So you've got a heated seat, you have heated grips, you have a center stand, you have included luggage. There's other extras you also get here, like this incredible factory bash plate or skid plate, which is just phenomenal to get this stock from the factory on an adventure bike. So here's how you can think of the Expedition. It's almost like if you took a KTM 890 Adventure R, which is known for its off-road performance, but you made a bike that was more travel oriented, more touring oriented or touring ready with all these additional amenities and accessories and designed more for that long distance travel. That's what you get with the Norden 901 Expedition. So today, here's what we'll do. We'll review the specs and features. We'll take this bike out for a good aggressive ride, both on and off-road. Then we'll come back here, we'll discuss the pros and cons, we'll discuss the competitors, and we'll end with some final thoughts. All right, as we walk around the motorcycle, let's talk about the specs and the features. The base price is $16,499. That's $1,600 more than the standard Norden. Keep in mind all the extra features and upgrades that you get. I think that's actually a really good value. The wet weight of the bike fully fueled up is 507 pounds or 230 kilograms. However, you have to factor in, if you're comparing that to a KTM 890 Adventure or a standard Norden 901, that this bike comes with the center stand, the soft bags, the luggage frames, the reinforced skid plate, the heated grips and seat, all this extra stuff, which adds all that extra weight. The engine is an 889cc double overhead cam liquid-cooled parallel twin, 105 horsepower and 73 foot-pounds or 100 newton meters of torque. Transmission is a 6-speed with quick shifter and slip assist clutch. Suspension front and back is WP Explore, 9.4 inches or 240 millimeters of travel. You have full adjustability for preload, for rebound, and for compression damping. The rake angle and wheelbase, so you have a 25.8 degree suspension rake angle, which is a little bit more steep than some of its competitors, 60.2 inches or 1,530 millimeter wheelbase. The brakes are by J1, and you have dual 320 millimeter front discs with 4 piston calipers. Tire sizes and wheels, you have a 21-inch front and an 18-inch rear. You have tubeless spoked wheels. Fuel capacity is 5 gallons or 19 liters. Electronics on this bike, you get a TFT dash with phone connectivity. You get a 6-axis IMU or inertial measurement unit. You get cruise control, you get quick shifter, you have configurable traction control and configurable ABS, and you have that really trick 9-level adjustable slip control when you use the Explorer mode, otherwise known as rally mode if you're coming from the KTM. Extra features that you get with this bike, you get heated grips and a heated seat, you get a center stand, you get the soft luggage with the luggage frames, you get the reinforced skid plate, and a few other goodies thrown in as well, plus this unique paint job, which is unique to the Expedition model. Walking around the bike, a few things that I'd like to point out. First of all, the skid plate is absolutely incredible. The stock foot pegs are pretty decent for an adventure bike, for off-road foot pegs. The center stand is super handy. Passenger pegs, you can remove them, which I like. The preload does take a wrench. It doesn't have a preload adjustment by hand, which is kind of an interesting choice. Handguards are actually pretty sturdy and could actually be used as handguards. You've got LED lighting. I like the fog lights as well, which you have a switch for that on the dash. Really beefy looking suspension. Tubeless wheels are awesome for fixing punctures. I like this brake lever. You can flip it and change the height. That's really, really handy. Luggage frames, the hold handles here. Pretty decent little luggage rack. Very nice seat with some interesting stitching and kind of cool detailing. The controls, nothing too special. They are backlit, or most of them are backlit, which is nice. See the handlebar here. Adjustable handlebars. Really like the adjustable ergonomics that KTM does. That's super handy. This adjusts your headlight. This is the fog light switch. You've got a 12-volt outlet. You've got a GPS mount. Controls over here for the cruise control. Mirrors, which look kind of cheap to me. The switchgear looks kind of cheap, but you know, it works okay. And kind of cool finishing on the gas filler. But beyond that, yeah, I think that's about it. All right, seat height, seating position, and ergonomics on the Norden 901 Expedition. So our seat height is adjustable between low and high. In the low position, it's 34.4 inches or 875 millimeters. In the high position, it's 35.2 inches or 895 millimeters. The seat here is in the low position. It's nice to have the adjustability. Now, here's what I'll tell you about seat heights. Don't always believe what the spec sheet says. This bike feels taller than the numbers would suggest. The reason for that is the seat is very wide. The seat's very comfortable, one of the best standard seats on any motorcycle. It's fantastic, but because it's wide, it pushes your legs out, makes the bike feel really tall. Let me show you what I mean. First, let's cover the riding position. The riding position is incredibly comfortable. It's perfectly upright. You have tons of leg room. That part is fantastic. Now, reach to the ground. I'm 5'10" or 178 centimeters tall. You can see even at my height, my left foot is on the foot peg, my right foot is reaching to the ground. I'm on tiptoes. If I try to put both feet down, it's very tall. The wide seat pushes your legs out and makes the bike feel taller than it is. That's made worse if you sit further back on the seat. If you scooch all the way forward, you can reach a little bit better. But you need to be aware of that if you're shopping for this bike.
Performance testing, 0 to 80 to 0. Again. Strong performance, acceleration and braking. The front brake does feel a little bit soft, but if you get into it really hard, you do have the power there. Quick shifter works well, but feels a little notchy. And you do notice the engine vibration at high RPM.
Alright, riding the Norden Expedition on the highway, the first thing that stands out while cruising down the highway is the tall windshield on this model, much larger than the standard Norden or either the S or the R version of the KTM 890 Adventure. The windscreen provides good protection, but for me anyways, still generates quite a lot of wind noise. Now, wind buffeting, a huge issue for me on a regular Norden, was not an issue on this bike. The windshield is still a little bit narrow and there's not much lower body wind protection, so I wouldn't say it's best in class in the category, but it does pretty good job. Now the engine, it feels pretty relaxed until you get to about 75 or 80 miles per hour, and then at those speeds, at those RPMs, and that would be about 120 kilometers an hour, that's where it starts to feel a little bit buzzy through the handlebars. Now the bike has cruise control, which is great to have, although it's not the smoothest system out there and it does tend to struggle to smoothly maintain a set speed when you go up and down hills. Now you won't really notice this unless you ride some of the competitive bikes out there. Okay, so the mirrors, they do have some buzziness in them at higher speeds. Overall, I would say this bike is a pretty nice place to be if you have to ride a long ways on the highway to get to where you're going. It's definitely an improvement to the KTM 890 Adventure or the standard Norden 901. Alright, sport riding on the Norden 901 Expedition. So if you want to ride this bike aggressively on pavement and through the canyons, there's a few things that you should know. Like all adventure bikes with long travel suspension, there's quite a bit of chassis movement and brake dive as to be expected when you have this much suspension travel. Overall, the handling is neutral, turn-in is a little slow due to the large 21-inch front wheel, but it's still pretty darn enjoyable to ride at an elevated pace like I'm doing here. The engine is very willing to play, it likes to rev, and it's easy to hit the rev limiter, although it does feel a bit gritty or vibey above 6,000 RPM. In terms of the brakes, they're okay. They feel a bit wooden and they don't feel super powerful, but I suspect they will be good enough for most riders out there.
Off-road test. I'm in Explore mode, which is rally mode in KTM speak. I'll adjust my traction control on the fly. The goal here is to ride as quickly as I can without crashing, without breaking anything, and really test the suspension performance, the overall off-road performance of this motorcycle.
Alright, riding this bike off-road, so the improved suspension is immediately noticeable versus the standard Norden 901. It's like a completely different bike and can be ridden much, much faster. Now, while the components are similar to the KTM 890 Adventure R, it feels softer and more plush than that bike due to different spring rates and different valving. At 240 millimeters of travel front and back, this bike is very adept at dealing with rough terrain at high speeds, except for an issue that you're about to see here in the video.
Oh, shit. Oh, fucking hell. That was a bad tank slapper. Oh, bottom out. Oh, bottom out. You can ride this bike fast. The tank slapper, there's an instability, there's a head shake in the bike that is super scary. Try some different traction control. My confidence, I just don't have the confidence now. I don't want to be thrown off this bike and high-sided. Let's rip around the sandy riverbed a little bit. Slip level all the way down to number 1, which is almost off. ABS is off to the back. I thought Explore mode turned off rear ABS. It doesn't, so I had to do that separately. I think there's a way to configure that, but I'm not totally sure. It's slightly different than the system the rally mode system on the KTM. I also maxed out my preload on the front forks because of the head shake that I've been experiencing. It didn't seem to totally fix it. I'm still feeling a bit of that shake sometimes, and it's incredibly unnerving. And I still don't have my confidence back totally in this bike. It seems to be on the bumps, so hopefully in the sand we won't have that.
Overall performance of riding in loose conditions or deep sand on these bikes, I've had all the 890s, all the Nordens and everything. They're pretty good. They're helped by the pretty low center of gravity due to the low slung fuel tank and the good mass centralization. However, I will say that the suspension rake angles are a little bit steep on all the variants of the 890 and the 901, and compared to something maybe like an Africa Twin or a Aprilia Touareg 660, that steeper steering rake angle makes them a little bit more unstable in the sand than I would like than some of the competitors, and they do benefit from more adjustable steering damper. The bikes do come with a non-adjustable steering damper, but they really benefit from more of a steering damper setup.
Mandatory skid plate test. Skid plate, good.
All right, it's time to summarize the pros and cons for the Norden 901 Expedition. What are the pros? Number one for me, it's fast, it's fun, it's agile, it's thrilling to ride in all conditions. Number two, the standard equipment that this bike comes with, it's pretty much ready to go off the showroom floor. You've got a big windshield, you've got heated grips, you've got handguards that actually work. You've got the tank that protects the engine so you don't need crash bars. You've got an amazing skid plate, the best skid plate on any adventure bike ever out of the showroom floor, like by a long shot. Amazing seat that's heated and very comfortable. It even comes with luggage, although it's not very good and they're prone to breaking. You get a luggage rack in the back, you get a center stand. I mean, all you really need to do to go on a serious expedition on this bike is get some proper luggage and change the tires. That's it. It's so well equipped. The next pro for me, the low center of gravity. We always talk about it with these 790s, 890s, 901s. The mass is low and it makes the bike feel lighter than it is on paper, and it's a real advantage over its competitors. Next up on the pros for me, the suspension is quite good on this bike. You have a really good setup for on and off-road riding with a premium level of performance on the suspension and a high level of adjustability for preload at the front and back, for all sorts of different damping adjustments. The level of suspension performance on this is much higher than you get on the WP Apex with the standard Norden or with the standard base models KTM 790 Adventure. Really, really nice suspension components here, and they have really good adjustability. Next up for me, the electronics package on these bikes, it's really excellent. The slip adjustment 1 through 9 is like a cheat code. It is phenomenal. Learn to use it. If you have one of these, it is your best friend. The off-road ABS settings, all that stuff, it's all easy to use and intuitive. The modes work well. And the way that they engineered the rider aids for off-road riding is the best in the business. Next up for me as a pro, I think we touched on this, but the crash protection of this bike, the durability of this bike off the showroom floor is second to none. That's because of the unique and innovative design of the fuel tanks, and they also give you real handguards and a phenomenal skid plate. Love it. Next up for me as a pro, the fuel range of this bike is very good. These are very fuel efficient. You'll often well exceed 50 miles a gallon, and with a 5-gallon tank, your riding range will be well in excess of 200 miles or 320 kilometers. Next up for me as a pro, the seat is super comfortable, one of the best factory seats on any bike. And next as a pro, I think the styling is very unique and very powerful. You may like it, you may not, but it's very unique. All right, the downsides to the Norden 901 Expedition, as I see it. Number one, there are serious questions about KTM's situation with their insolvency, their bankruptcy, financial issues, as well as ongoing concerns about their reliability with the camshaft issues that are ongoing and with other factors. That's kind of the elephant in the room when I do videos about these bikes, and it'd be crazy not to mention it. At the end of the day, you have to make a personal decision on how you feel about those things and do you have confidence in these bikes. I just can't answer that for you. Next is a downside for me. The engine on these bikes, as well as its KTM counterparts, it's hot on your legs. It makes your lower legs and lower body very warm. Even in cool temperatures, which we have right now in a 60, 70 degree Fahrenheit range, it's noticeable engine heat, and I wish they could get that under control. Next is a downside for me, the vibration from the engine. The engine is pretty buzzy and pretty vibey above about 5,000 RPM. If you only rode this bike, you might not really notice it, but when you ride this bike and then ride its competitors, an Africa Twin, a 900GS Adventure, what other bikes, you will notice this is a buzzier engine. Now it's fast, but it's a little bit vibey. Next downside for me, also to do with the engine. At idle especially, the engine sounds rattly and loose and unrefined. Wind noise. Wind noise is, it's fairly noisy. I'm not gonna say there's buffeting. The buffeting is fairly well under control, especially in comparison to the standard Norden windshield, which is horrific because I owned that bike and rode it a lot. This is much better than that, and this is much better than an 890 Adventure R. It's still pretty noisy in terms of a wind perspective. Again, this is only something you're gonna notice if you ride some of the competitors out there. Next downside, speaking of the windshield, it may be on the tall side for some people riding off-road. If you get pitched forward, if you're riding aggressive and you're moving your weight up forward like you should be, this windshield's awfully close to your helmet and your face. It'd be nice to have some sort of an adjustable windshield system to push that down. Some bikes have that. It's a great feature. If I was doing a lot of off-roading on this bike, I might need to fit a shorter windshield, which would then compromise the pretty good overall wind coverage that you get on the highway. Next potential downside, if you're a little bit heavier rider, over 200 pounds or 90 kilos, and you ride pretty aggressively, you may find the spring rates are a touch on the soft side. I was able to bottom the bike pretty frequently, but having said that, that's true of all adventure bikes. And this is better than average, I would say, but it's still something that I should note. Next downside is I've shown you the head shake, the tank slappers that I've been experiencing. It's concerning to me that this bike is for sale. I've noticed this, I have it on video. There are many other journalists, if you go back and read the reviews from the press intro they did with this bike, it's been a year or two now, many people noted that. It seems, I mean, I'm very concerned about it. I don't know exactly what's causing it, but I've played with the suspension settings. I haven't been able to totally get rid of it. And I'm going to, I'll let KTM know what I'm experiencing. Here's what I'll say. If you're out there and you have this bike, let me know if you know anything about this, if you've experienced it, if your friends have experienced it, if there's any remedies for it. Is it just suspension settings? But to me, it's inexcusable, and I'm sorry to be a bit harsh, but it's inexcusable to me for a modern motorcycle to have a death wobble situation as the bike comes off the showroom floor. We can say, oh, adjust the suspension, do all that, but the suspension is at the standard settings when this is happening. That's not good. Next downside, the included luggage is doesn't have great capacity, and they're prone to failure. If you research this bike, you'll see that most of these have torn. The seams have torn out and these have failed. I think they did improve them and maybe gave people replacements. Maybe this new version is better, but I could just tell you, I know a lot about luggage, looking at how these are mounted with these plastic clips. If you put a lot of weight in these and ride aggressively, I don't see them lasting. Next downside, we looked at this, is the seat height is tall. It's even taller than the specs would suggest. Because you have this wide seat, makes it feel taller. Of course, the benefit is you get a very comfortable seat. All right, competitors to the Norden 901 Expedition. What about saving your money and just getting the standard Norden? You could do that. What you're missing out on with the standard Norden is this much, much better suspension package. I think it's worth the extra money just for that. The standard Norden might be better though if you're a more vertically challenged rider, a little bit shorter, because it is a little bit lower seat height. You get so much more additional feature content here though with the Expedition, and I think when you look at the price difference, I think the value is really there with this upgraded model. However, if you don't need the extra stuff and you're not an aggressive off-road rider, you'll be just fine with the standard Norden 901. Now, what about comparing it to its KTM brothers and sisters, right? So everything from the 790 Adventure to the 890 Adventure R, they've done away with the base 890 Adventure. So compared to those, so look at it this way. The base model 790 Adventure from KTM is your budget option. And it's pretty good at doing everything. The 890 Adventure R from KTM is the off-road focused bike among these three. Now, the Norden 901, the base Norden 901 is kind of like a little bit more different styled version with a bigger engine and more touring oriented versus the 790 Adventure. And then the fourth model, the 901 Expedition, is the fully loaded premium package with all the options you can get, combining the off-road ability of the 890 Adventure R, at least 90% of it, with touring amenities that are really useful. So that's how to break that down. Getting into comparisons with other motorcycles is always super difficult because what kind of engine do you want? What kind of styling do you want? What are your brand loyalties? What are your dealer preferences that you have in your area? All of these things are going to factor in. Honda Africa Twin, amazing motorcycle. Ducati DesertX, amazing motorcycle. BMW F900GS, also a very good motorcycle. They all have their unique pros and cons. This is, for the money, this is extremely well equipped compared to those other bikes. You're going to have to weigh out all the pros and cons in terms of which bike is ultimately right for you. And I can't tell you which bike you should buy, but watch all my detailed reviews and then you can make up your own mind. All right, final thoughts on the Husqvarna Norden 901 Expedition. I really think this is quite possibly the most adventure-ready motorcycle off the showroom floor you can buy. The reason I think that is because look at all the features and equipment and capability and performance that it comes with out of the box. It's really phenomenal in that regard. In addition to that, it's very fun to ride and very quick, both on and off road. It's relatively comfortable, has one of the best seats on any bike I've ever tested, has a lot of cool extra features for touring, and is a really fantastic overall package for the price point. Now, you're going to have to weigh the pros and cons on whether you feel comfortable with this brand, with everything that they're going through, and that's ultimately a personal decision, and I totally understand that. But I hope I've given you a good perspective on this bike, and hope you found this review useful. Again, those two favors I asked at the beginning, I'm very sincere about asking these. Please subscribe, and please use my affiliate links. Other than that, ride safe, and I'll see you out there.